Guys, good Friday morning. My name is Jerry Miller. Welcome to Real Talk. This is an insider's guide to real estate life in the pursuit of happiness. We are live in Charlottesville, the Commonwealth, the country, and the world on the I Love CVille Network. We're presented by Keith and Yonna Smith of the Yes Team Realtors. Now, Keith Smith and Yonna Smith on vacation. They're traveling to the West Coast where they're hanging out with their youngest daughter who's recently married in the Seattle area. Now we have a gentleman and a scholar, and Judah Wickhauer is our director. Why don't we go to the studio camera and welcome that gentleman and scholar? And his name, of course, is Michael Guthrie. Michael, you said this is the first time in a little while, I guess since COVID, that you've been out for an extended period of time. It reminded me of Kelly Jackson, who does a show on this network. She owns 16 Panera Breads, her family. First time she'd come out since early March was to do her show. So we're grateful you're here. Every time you are here, the show sizzles. You're an award-winning broadcaster. Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning. Yeah, absolutely. Glad to be here. Given my Guillain-Barré last year,
Of course.
Their concern is I have a compromised immune system, and therefore self-isolation, or as I call it, spending most of my time in my Rapunzel tower above my garage, has been my modus operandi. But when Keith asked me if I would do this, Dottie and I talked about it. And we felt like this was a good, safe place to do it. I know the surroundings. I know how I'm going to move around in it. Knew I was going to have a mask on, got my sanitizer.
We're almost 8 feet apart here.
Yeah,
probably with where you're sitting. We are 8 feet apart.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So, it's a pleasure to help Keith and Yonna do this so that they can be out. Not only, I'm pretty sure that the daughter her birthday was Tuesday, because you guys did it on the show on Tuesday. So they're celebrating a birthday, and they're celebrating them getting married. They did one of those small COVID weddings that I guess ultimately, at least short run, is saving Keith and Yonna some money.
Yeah, good job, Keith Smith. He's watching while on the plane right now.
Yeah.
He said we're about to board.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
So obviously, I'm sure they'll figure out how to get it from them another way, but at least short run, they had that, and so I'm happy to be here and happy to help them in this way.
Have a message for Michael Guthrie, guys. Just put it in the comment section and give it a like and a share. Rosemary Postle, welcome to the program. Johnny Ornelas, thank you kindly for joining us. Any well wishes for Michael, just drop it in the comment section. I'll pass it along to him. You have a guest that's coming that has quite a positive reputation, Michael.
Yeah, absolutely. Before we do that, I just noticed on the screen with live, Sharon Fay, a longtime friend, actually lives out your way. In the western part of the county. They just built a brand new house.
Eastern now.
Extraordinary house, right. And then a former fraternity brother, Jerry Beninati's watching. So, Jerry, I hope you're doing well. I know you've had some health issues, so we're thinking about you in that. But, yeah, we've got Dirk Kingma coming on the show with us from Blue Ridge Home Builders Association. His dad still is Doug, an extraordinary custom builder. And
sure.
And Dirk has, sort of taken on where his dad left off, but he's also the president-elect of the Blue Ridge Home Builders Association. And, we've been talking so much about this second quarter market report on this show and some other places, and we oftentimes pull out the new construction so we can really get a feel for what the residential part of it looks like, the existing home aspects of things. And so I thought it'd be fun just to bring Dirk in, and I know he's done his homework. He's talked to a number of builders for us, and he's going to really be able to give us an idea of what's going on the new home sector as well. So I'm excited about talking about that, and then also about some partnerships that BRHB and CAR do together. And so I think people will learn a lot from hearing from him.
I love it. We have you on the big screen here. When the CEO's in the house, we put him on the big screen, and that's Michael Guthrie. You mentioned the Q2 report. How do you even consider data in a COVID world that is almost like this dated? I mean, because that was almost just like another time. Yeah. It feels like every month in COVID is like a year of normal time, if you may. So how do you look open-ended at Q2?
Well, first of all, if folks want more information, they can always go to roywheeler.com/newsletter. Mm-hmm. And I do my own analysis on the quarterly report. And mine usually comes out before CAR's. I really wait for CAR because I want to get their information. But CAR made a decision a while back that They're getting additional data, which is great. Talking about housing, talking about the economics, talking about jobs, all those kind of things. But to collect all that data, it's usually about a month behind the end of the second quarter. And so, as you and I talked before the show, especially right now, there's not a lot of reason to look back.
Sure, right.
Because the second quarter was what the second quarter was, and it was a COVID-19 season, and not that we're not still in it, but I think we've learned to adapt in some ways. I think if people go back and watch Keith and Yonna's show with you, listen to my radio show from 3 months ago, I think the second quarter, when you guys were talking on Tuesday about, that the report was ugly. From my standpoint, it was ugly, but it was expected. And,
sure.
And then Quentin, who's the president-elect of CAR, and Tom Wolfolk would say the same thing, the president of CAR. It was expected. Lisa Sturdivant, who's been on your show, Virginia Realtor economist, she was on my show a couple weeks ago, and we talked about the fact that we predicted that May was going to be the nadir time period, and that we would start coming out of it in June, and that's exactly what's happened. And
you could call it a V-shape for real estate.
Yeah.
That's safe to say, right?
I think it is, and we'll talk later, hopefully, about the fact that, we're hoping that we won't see another, so it makes it a W.
Yeah.
Because there are a lot of wild cards out there. But for July, our company had the best July we've had in forever, and that is stunning to me. That's not what I would have expected. If you'd asked me back in May what July would look like, I would never have guessed that we would have done the kind of business that we did. But I think it communicates and it supports the fact that the spring market's just 3 months later.
Yeah.
And it wouldn't have been normally this time of year. Where is everybody?
Yeah.
They're at the beach, they're at the lake, they're at the rivers, that kind of thing. And people are still trying to get there, no doubt. But a lot of people are out of town at this time, whereas now they're not. And I think that's positively impacted the July and hopefully the August market, that normally we go into a little bit of a slowdown because people are chilling and getting out and doing other things, and kids are playing baseball, and well, kids aren't doing that, so they've got more time to really think about. And then the interest rates,
right?
Historic. Unbelievable.
Sure.
I posted on your show Tuesday about there's a person I know bought a house with a jumbo loan at 3.125.
It's amazing.
A month or two ago, you couldn't get a jumbo loan.
Right.
So we've adapted. We've pivoted. Sure. People are learning how to do this, and so far it's working.
So we'll talk sustainability and whether this recovery is sustainable, what Michael Guthrie thinks or sees needs to happen for this. Do you want to cover some of that now, or do you want to welcome Dirk now?
Well, if Dirk's, we got about time for Dirk to come on, so this would be a good time because we can continue to talk about this, but I'd love to get his input in regards to the new construction and what they're seeing as well.
Okay, so I'm going to reach out to Dirk now, Judah, on the line. In fact, we have him there. Dirk, we're waiting on the thumbs up. We just got it. I'll pass it to you in a second.
Yep.
Okay.
So, Dirk, you're live. Thank you for joining us. We're very grateful. I'm going to ask you a question. It's our pleasure. Ask you a question first about yourself, and then we'll talk shop with Michael Guthrie. Introduce yourself to the viewing public. Just you personally, family man, etc., and then I'll pass the computer over to Michael. Show's yours.
Yeah, hello. My name is Dirk Kingma. I'm a builder here in Charlottesville. I build custom homes with my father, Doug Kingma. Have a wife and Jackie Kingma and our daughter June. So.
Oh, slide over. Dirk, we're doing some moving around here, and I'm screwing everything up. I'm sorry.
Hey, no problem.
There you go.
How are you doing?
I'm good, man. You're sounding really good. You're coming in loud and clear, and I know that I know that you just said, and I even said before you came on that talked about your dad and about the things that you guys are doing, and I've always had a great deal of respect for Doug. And Jerry, you probably don't know this, but Doug was a long-standing member of the Free Enterprise Forum.
I did not know
with
that.
With Neil Williamson, and represented the builders very, very well in that capacity for a number of years.
I certainly see their brand and this company all over our neighborhood.
Yep.
With the construction they're doing. I mean, your reputation speaks for itself there.
Yeah, absolutely.
And where do you live, Jerry?
I live now I moved from Redfields to the eastern side of Albemarle County to Glenmore. and we
Okay,
see a lot of your construction over there.
Yeah.
And Michael was very excited about having you on today's broadcast.
Yeah, absolutely, Dirk. As we talked off air when I first called you about this, so much of the conversation has been, well, we're going to take new construction out of the numbers so that we can really get a real picture of what's going on with the existing home marketplace. But as you know, because you're in it every day, and especially with your involvement with the Blue Ridge Home Builders Association, Dirk is the president-elect, or we were laughing earlier about the fact that maybe it sounds better to be vice president, but president-elect of the Blue Ridge
Right.
Home Builders Association. And over the last probably, from 12 to 15 months, new construction has been a leading indicator in the marketplace, and so I don't think we can always just take it out, and that's why I wanted to have you on from the Blue Ridge Home Builders Association, because the end of the second quarter proved it again. Almost 1 out of every 5 homes that sold in the second quarter of 2020 was new construction, whether it was custom, whether it was spec. And I'll just say a couple things, and I'll hand it off to you. In my opinion, and what I've written about, is it's twofold. One is that, or threefold. One is that people love new construction. If they can buy new versus existing,
Brand new and shiny.
they're going to do it. And number two is you guys were ahead of us as far as the residential part of it, from a virtual, online way of looking at new homes. And the rest of us had to catch up, and we're quickly catching up. But the third thing that I think is important, and I think people forget with the second quarter market report, is that data is all sold data. That's what actually closed. Somebody got the keys. They're now moving into the house. And so a lot of those homes that closed in the second quarter of 2020, they may have gone under contract with
Q1.
You guys in
Yeah.
Q4 of last year.
Sure.
So those three things, but at the end of the day, it's still 1 out of every 5. And that's a big number that we have to pay attention to. And so I just wanted to have you on, and I know I'm grateful that you did your homework and talked to some other folks, some good friends in the business, and we just love to hear what you guys are seeing on your side. One, looking back just for a minute about the second quarter, but more how's the activity coming through the models, and that's the other thing about COVID-19. It's much easier to look at a model because it's vacant.
Yeah.
And you guys can
Sure.
you guys can set it up by appointment without a whole lot of problems. So really, it's fourfold, Jerry.
Sure.
Being Presbyterian, I try to keep those 3 points, right? But it's fourfold. So I'll hand it off to you, Dirk, and just share with us what your thoughts are.
Sure. Yeah. Well, I think a lot of what you just said was true, and I think those are all great points. I do think that we do have a leg up in our industry, in that we do have vacant models, and that's a big deal, obviously, with the pandemic. I think that's a really astute point, Michael. And like you said, those figures are historical, so it'll be interesting to see how things are looking going into the third quarter and beyond. We had a chance to speak earlier this week, and as I said, I've talked to a couple of friends of mine. One is another custom builder, and one's a remodeler builder, and both of those guys were echoing the sentiment that things seem to be getting a lot better. Business is really starting to pick up quite a bit. And my feeling about that is that there's probably quite a bit of pent-up demand due to COVID-19, and people were just not really out shopping, meeting builders, signing contracts like they would have been in January, February, March. So I think that there's a bit of a delay in the marketplace that we're all benefiting from now. It seems like everybody's saying the same thing, that business is starting to boom again.
Well, and people are home now more than ever. I mean, we're sitting around our couches and looking at the remodeling we need done, or if we don't have that Zoom room, why we need to move to another house and do you see that, Michael? Is that what you're seeing?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think what Dirk's saying is right on point, and including the fact that people are in their homes and realizing they're too small now. My son is in the process of buying a house, moving out of DC, He's got a really cool renovated row house in a really neat area of Washington, but he's got 3 kids and an au pair, and he and his wife, and man, those walls are caving in on them, and there's no place to go.
Sure. Is he coming to Charlottesville?
No, unfortunately, I wish. No, they're going to move out to the Arlington area, but
Cool.
move into a house with a yard where the kids can hit wiffle balls in the backyard,
And that's the trend.
yeah, and that's the point.
Yeah.
The point being is that not only do they need more space inside, but they just got to have a place where they control the environment outside. And I mean, even in the parks around where they live, he went to pick up Charlie the other day from a little camp or something, and he forgot his mask.
Right.
And he got shamed. As he was coming onto the park, some woman just kind of sneered at him and said, "Ma'am, I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
I'm just picking up my son. I'm not interacting, and I just forgot my mask." And I mean, it's a whole nother story about how you do that well versus shaming somebody.
Yeah.
But the point being is, you want a place where you kind of control the environment and can do it the way you want to do it and not be worried about what somebody else is going to think.
It's more than a home now.
Yeah.
It's like, it's so much more dynamic. Dirk.
That's a great point, Jerry. I mean, I think that's what a lot of my friends that have young families are all saying, that it's just that the home is everything for us now. It's where you're spending all of your time.
Yeah.
So everybody's feeling that itch to get a little bit more space, a little bit more yard space. Yeah.
Throw how about the remodeling piece that you're seeing? He mentioned remodeling.
Yeah, remodeling, and Doug, Dirk, I want to go 2 different ways with that. Because one is the remodeling. Quite honestly, that's one of the reasons, Jerry, that it's impacting the inventory. Because people are in their house, they like their house, they like their neighbors, they like the community, but they need more space. And so instead of going out and buying something new or finding an existing home to buy, they're going to put an addition on,
right,
or finish the basement, or put the big entertainment center out back with the patio and the fire pit and all those kind of things. And so I totally agree with what Dirk said. The folks that I know that are in that part of the business, they're out a year already. If somebody talked to a good friend the other day about doing this, thinking, "Oh, I'm his friend. We'll get this done." And the guy said, "Yeah, I can get to you probably by February."
Right.
And so that's part of it. But Dirk, also, what about? And I don't know how much you know about this, but the interest rates that we were talking about before you came on the air. The construction financing is really attractive now too, whereas just a few years ago, man, to try to get a lender to lend you money up front to build a house was, because I talked to your dad about this, a few years ago. It was just, and people like Benton Downer and investment and stuff like that. Banks that they had long time relationships with, where they'd go to lunch and the person would write the check, said,
Sure.
we don't have the wherewithal to do that right now. And I think over these last couple of years, that's loosened up, and I think that's been helpful too, hasn't it?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, we're seeing rates at record lows, and obviously that's going to be driving our industry going forward. It's yet another important factor in why I think our industry is maintaining. We're obviously not doing as well as we would have hoped to probably going into this year. I mean, this year probably could have been a really banner year, but due to the pandemic, things are obviously, we need to start to curb our expectations a little bit about the year. But yeah, certainly, I mean, I'm looking here. Mortgage rates are at a little over 3% for a 30-year fixed, and those are figures that probably won't be seen again in maybe our lifetimes. And therefore, I think you'll continue to see people wanting to take advantage of that.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And Dirk, I'm going to pivot on you for a minute here because.
Sure.
One, let's talk about the builders like Ryan Homes, Craig Builders, Stanley Martin, Southern Development, all those different production builders who are in the process right now, and this is another good sign of building specs because they know they can sell them. Gosh, again, 3 or 4 years ago, if you saw a spec house, you'd have thought, "What's going on?" Talk a little bit about, because I know you're just getting into it, but talk a little bit about how you guys are pivoting with the Parade of Homes. Parade of Homes is an extraordinary event every fall that the Blue Ridge Home Builders Association does, and it goes over 2 full weekends, including a couple weekday things for realtors. And You guys have got to be, I mean, here we are, what is it, Jerry, August 7th? That's
Yeah.
just 2 months away. So talk a little
Right.
bit, I know you're starting to put some promotion stuff out there on it, but talk a little bit about what you guys are thinking and what people can expect, at least at this point, knowing what we know.
Sure. Yeah, we're really excited about the Parade of Homes this year. We're moving forward with it. It will start October 3rd, that weekend of October 3rd and 4th, and run through the 10th and the 11th, those 2 weekends. And in addition to our normal Parade of Homes, we're also going to be doing a virtual element, as you referenced, that will use technology like the Matterport, which I'm sure you all are very familiar with, to allow folks that might not want to come out, or if people don't want people in their houses, the opportunity to still see those properties, and continue to showcase houses in the area that our builders are proud of.
Yeah, and I think, Jerry, you and Keith have talked a little bit about Matterport.
Oh, yeah, 3D. It's
yeah,
beautiful.
3D. It really is great, and we've just begun to offer it through Vincent, who I'm sure is watching, is starting to do those for our agents.
That's
and
great. They're popping up everywhere.
I think it's extraordinarily important, but I think it's important for folks to know. I mean, we were talking before you came on, Dirk, about the fact that even if there is football, there ain't going to be anybody in the stands. And so you guys don't have to worry about those 2 weekends from a standpoint of competing with people coming into Scott Stadium and that kind of thing. They can drive around Charlottesville and do their Parade of Homes listening to Dave Kane and the gang on WINA. It's going to be, it's a crazy time we're living in. But I guess the next direction I'd go with this interview is, I've been pleasantly surprised in 2 different scenarios. One is how quickly we've been able to adapt to a new reality, whether it be from the builder standpoint, from the existing home sales standpoint, from the lender, from the closing companies. Everybody just adapted in such an extraordinary way to allow us to have the kind of activity we're having now. And speak a little bit about that from a standpoint of on your side of the equation. And then the second thing is as I've shared on a couple different occasions, I'm continually just amazed at the cooperation amongst the competitors in our market, both on the builder standpoint and on the realtor standpoint. And I was in a meeting 2 months, maybe almost 2 months ago, where a number of the major brokers in the area got together on a Zoom call and talked about how do we do this so we're all sending the same message, not only to the community but to our agents in regards to reopening or not reopening and that kind of thing, and to have those people all in the same thing saying, hey, let's do this right. And my favorite story about your side of the equation, this is a couple of years ago, I tailgate in the same place every year for football, and the tailgate was just 3 or 4 spaces down from me, and I forget whose it was using it. But what I was struck by was all the builders' reps were all there together.
It's great.
So here they compete against each other, but man, on Saturday, they were all there together having a good time.
Love it.
And so I'm sure you're seeing that on your end as well, especially as far as how to pivot with parade and that kind of thing, that there's a real camaraderie in the competition.
Absolutely. I've been fairly active here with our local home builder association in the past few years, and this year I happen to be the chair of the membership committee, and we're thrilled to see that our retention rates are really high still. People want to stick with us, and I think that speaks to that camaraderie that you're referencing. In addition to that, I think going back to a point you made earlier about how quickly everyone has been able to sort of pivot, adjust, make changes to their normal workflows, and continue to do business. I think a big part of that was some of the advocacy that was done at the state level by HBAV, and making sure that we were in Governor Northam's ear, and making sure that we were deemed essential, so that building could continue. during phase one when the shutdown began.
So Jerry, I promise you, I didn't tell him to do that, but we talked before you coming on that that's another direction I wanted to go. I'm dressed today in my realtor garb, but I've got my realtor mask. But the reason I have my realtor mask is that I contribute to RPAC, which is the Realtor Political Action Committee, which I know you guys have one as well. And what you just said, I think, is really important for our listeners and the viewers to hear, that we're not just about buying and selling homes or helping people buy and sell homes. We're there to support property rights, and I can quote chapter and verse things that RPAC and your group down in Richmond, the difference that we've made for property owners, whether it be, landlords, Jerry.
Yeah, you
a
guys
few
are
years ago.
Yeah,
a few
you're
years
influencing policy.
Well, and a few years ago, I don't know, maybe right before you bought this building, Benton Downer and Ray Cadell and a couple others came to me, and I was, involved with the leadership of CAR, and gosh, it's not a few years ago anymore. It's like 10 years ago. But anyway, the point being is, the utility people weren't allowing the landlords to give the utilities to the next tenant, because the tenant was before hadn't paid their bills.
Yeah.
And it's crazy. That's not the landlord's problem.
No.
And so we created what I called the Benton Downer Act, and took it to RPAC, and RPAC made it one of the key issues, and got that passed. And then this year,
you can't leverage water and electric against the landlord because a past tenant didn't pay their bill.
But that's what was happening.
That makes the property useless.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. And so, but take it to fast forward to today, incredible positive pressure to make sure we should be an essential service, that we make a difference with the economy, and that they could trust us that we were going to do it well. And I give Carr, I give Tom Wolfolk and Quentin, props, Abby, props for leading us well, and Jenny and your guys making sure that we did it safely, so that nobody out there could be, calling in and saying, oh, those people in Charlottesville, they're taking advantage of it, what I considered a privilege, and so it became a responsibility. And I think we've done it incredibly well on both the resale side and on your side of the ledger, Dirk.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I really appreciate you bringing up the fact that's going on. Jerry,
I have some questions.
Yeah, and let me give you one question. Ask whenever, but when you and Keith were talking on Tuesday, and you were talking about the urban ring.
Sure.
And I pushed back on you about the Kit Kat bar analogy, but ask him about that in the midst of your questions as well.
Sure. So one of the questions I have for you, Dirk, is how about the trend of people leaving densely populated cities, urban areas, to come to places like a Charlottesville and to build a custom dream home? Your thoughts on that topic? Are you seeing that trend, Dirk?
I've been hearing quite a bit of that myself, and I think it makes a good bit of sense. I think that people that are in densely packed neighborhoods and cities are likely thinking, just like all of us, that they wish they had a little bit more space, and they're looking at the map, and Charlottesville's a wonderful destination. So I think it's kind of a no-brainer for folks that are looking to move to find their way here.
I agree 100%. So let me take it a step further with you. Let's say we get, Michael Guthrie's son is thinking about moving from DC to Arlington. My in-laws are thinking about moving from Southampton on Long Island down here to Charlottesville. Let's say we start
grandparents do that kind of thing.
They want to be around the grandkid. Yeah. So let's say we get the DC money, we get some New York money, some big, urban money coming down to Charlottesville. How do you see that influencing the market, say, 2020 and into 2021, Dirk?
Gosh, Jerry, that's a great question. The way that I see the local market shifting is probably neighborhoods surrounding the city center will likely change quite a bit, and I think we've already started to see that a lot around Fifeville neighborhoods, going into Fry Spring and beyond. I think that it still seems like people want to have that neighborhood feeling that they had, whether that was in New York or maybe in DC or wherever. And they want to try to replicate that somehow while still moving into a smaller town like Charlottesville. So I think that's how we might see that. If there is a movement here, I think we might feel it more around the city center probably.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Have you heard that? That's interesting.
I think what he's saying is exactly right. And then when you talk about the areas he talked about, it confirms and substantiates what we said earlier about people wanting a yard. So, they're downtown, they like the walkability and everything, but they were a little bit too much on top of each other as far as a condo or whatever, and you've got a kid or two, or even if you don't. Again.
So you think the person that's leaving from the big city to come to Charlottesville is still going to want to be kind of in an urban setting here in Charlottesville, so that they may be targeting the 10th and Page, the Fifevilles, the Fry Springs, where you have that walkability, playability, workability factor of where they live. So you think that's how you agree with that?
I do. I mean, I
you don't
certainly
see that moving to the more.
I do see it.
The Glenmores.
I do see it some, but it's two different people, right? And so you look at the Rose Hill Drive area, Rugby Avenue area. What's happening in there is astounding as far as the pricing, right? But it's because people are choosing to buy there and then renovate it to the space that they want. And my thinking about this is that, the Lake Monticello, which you guys have talked a lot about, Glenmore, Old Trail, all those areas, they're going to continue to do well. And then, the farms. I think the farm prices have gotten to a place where people
they're approachable.
Yeah, more people are doing it. And somebody from New York or whatever has the money, they can do that. But what I'm finding with a lot of that is that people, they may not want all the care that it's going to take, the upkeep. And so you take a place like Rose Hill Drive, Rugby Avenue area, somebody buys a house and they renovate it. I've got a friend right now who is trying to buy one of those. It's in terrible condition. He got it appraised because he wanted to have an idea so that he could go back to this person and say, look, this is what the appraiser is saying the house is worth. But he's basically he's renting for a year and is going to renovate it. And because he wants to have the space that he wants. He doesn't want the functional obsolescence of a 1960s house. He wants the space and the light and those kind of things. But he wants some part of the environment that he can control. As far as the yard, even if it's a small yard, you can still put a fire pit out there and you can do those kind of things. You got the walkability of the YMCA and the skate park and all those different things. I think people still desire that. They just are more careful, especially with the condos. They're more careful about, do I want to be in that kind of situation? Should something like this happen again?
Yeah, if you're in your house for 90 days in a row without leaving again. Exactly right. Dirk, how about this question for you? Our advertising agency represents one of your builders, John Kerber, Dominion Custom Homes.
Who's also an active member with Blue Ridge Home Builders Association.
Mm-hmm. Right. So John's the man. And his remodeling business is booming, and you've highlighted the boom in remodeling. So here's a good question for you here. If the remodeling businesses continue to boom and people are choosing to improve their existing home, this is going to further the pinch or the tightness in inventory. And right now we have a lack of inventory on the market here. Let me throw that topic to you anywhere you want to go here. If folks choose that mindset of improving what they got and not going up the ladder or down the ladder, this could influence what's going to be on the market from a buying and selling standpoint. Anywhere you want to go with that, Dirk?
Okay, well, I guess my big takeaway from that is that movement towards fixing up what you already have and looking at your kitchen and saying, okay, what can I do to improve this situation? That movement is likely going to further restrict the number of homes coming on the market. People might not be moving around quite as much, and I think that could be a big driver for folks trying to sell this year. They might not have as much competition as they would normally face in trying to sell their home. And it could make things a little bit more difficult for buyers as well.
Yeah, I see it that way. Is that how you see it, Michael?
Oh, absolutely. And so we talked before. If I can fix my house up, and again, let's just use an example of what we just talked about. Somebody's got a house that they bought it in 70 or whatever. They've got a tremendous amount of equity.
Yeah.
They can refinance to less than 3% 30-year, cash out, and make that renovation. And in some places, depending on how it works out, the payment doesn't change much, even though you've got basically a brand new house in regards to what you do. So, you cash out and do $100,000 and then refinance that down to less than 3% mortgage rate when maybe you had a 6 or 7% interest rate because you bought it whenever you bought it. All of a sudden it doesn't sting as much.
Right.
I mean, you got to go through the uncomfortableness of the renovation.
The paperwork and all the
on the
renovations.
renovation.
Yeah, right.
But if I can have that, why in the world do I want to go through the aggravation of having to go find something else and have to move everything out? And
so is that what could impact the sustainability of this V-shaped recovery? The lack of inventory? Is that what could do it? Because you know how we were talking at the beginning of the show? We have this incredibly positive momentum that's happening in Q3, and we want it to keep going. All of us do. I mean, what you guys do is like the economy. I mean, if the housing market is strong, we have jobs, people are confident, we have consumer confidence if our houses are doing well.
Yep.
So here's the question for you. Is that what could impact the recovery? Is the pinchness in the inventory?
so I'd have to say yes and no. And the reason I'd say no is because we have a lack of inventory now, and folks are figuring it out. There's enough buying and selling and buying new homes that's happening that the numbers that I think we'll see by the end of the third quarter are going to be pretty amazing. So, but if we can encourage people to sell and go buy that next house or whatever, well, then you take a market that's really good and make it on steroids.
Even better.
What I think, where the impact is, you think about the V, it goes down, goes back up. What I'm worried about, as we talked about before coming on the air, is that we turn into a W. And the W is if we don't get our arms around COVID-19 and do all the right things so that we have to step back.
And turn it off again.
The governor's saying everybody's got to wear face masks.
Yeah.
Without saying we're going back to phase 2, in a lot of ways we went back to phase 2, right? He did that very diplomatically, I thought. He didn't say we're going to phase 2. He just said,
He put us in 2.5.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, hybrid.
So if that works, and at least over the week since it's happened, the percentage of people who have COVID tested versus testing positive, it was down to like 6 yesterday, I think.
Yeah.
I think I've got that right. Maybe 6.5. But anyway, it was at 20 back. So 6.5. If we can continue that momentum, so that people feel comfortable about going back to work and
consumer confidence.
Yeah. And that's another place. And I know you have people on your show all the time. I think the people with the restaurants the curbside business is being done. Well, I love it, but it's being done so well.
Right.
There's so many places you can go, and they just make it so convenient. Well, there's our buddies at Guajiros, which, by the way, did you know they're moving?
Yeah. Harvey's coming on the show to the old Parallel 38.
Yeah, I'm ticked off. He's moving away from where I live.
Chatter is they may have 2.
Well,
they may keep the second.
Yeah. Well,
did they decide no?
The response I saw on Instagram was no. We're relocating.
Okay.
But
right.
Harvey is a great guy. Nilo, Sebastian, all those guys.
Are great.
Shout out to those guys. But whether it's them or Oakart Social or IVN or where the Bonefish has got this amazing whatever it is, $39.99 for 4. For people that don't have to go out and drink.
Yeah. It's huge. It's such a convenience.
Yeah.
Such a convenience.
Yeah.
And it's at a lower price point.
Nothing against people that want to go out and drink,
totally,
by the way.
Yeah, you're not. Totally. Dirk, your thoughts on the recovery. What could threaten a recovery for housing, macro and micro? Just take the Charlottesville market. What could threaten a Charlottesville
market?
Jerry,
I think the key metric is just consumer confidence.
Yeah.
I think if folks continue to feel like we're moving in the right direction, we've got a grasp on the situation, and we're kind of moving forward with it, I think things will continue to improve. My biggest concern is that confidence just shifting and people feeling scared again, staying in and not wanting to participate in the economy. So I think that's probably the biggest, for me, that's probably the biggest metric to keep an eye on. And it's great to see that it looks like consumer confidence is up.
Yeah,
now. So
it's uptaking.
Well, it seems like to me, again, we'll know here in the next couple of weeks, students coming back will be huge for area.
You think they're going to come back?
You know, it's hard to say. I mean, you got people coming from everywhere.
Right?
Everywhere.
But then the flip side of the coin is, what happens if they don't come back?
No, that's
and
right.
You know what I mean by that.
No, that impacts the economy,
Yeah.
which hurts the scenario. They got to figure out how to help people that have lost their jobs, for sure. Continue to help people that have lost their jobs. But at the same time, and this is another, going back to what you said earlier, Keith and I were talking about this the other day. I'm not as concerned about 2021 as I am 2022.
Interesting. Tell me about that.
Well, and the reason being, and Dirk, you guys are probably seeing this in your numbers as well, but at some point, Peter's got to pay the piper. And so all this stimulus money that's coming in,
Yeah.
the economy's got to come back to start paying some of that down. And if it doesn't, or even if it does some, that inflation word,
Yeah.
is at some point it's got to happen. And that's why I think another reason why so many people are out there trying to buy right now is not
Sure.
only the low interest rates, but if we do get some sort of inflation, the best protection for inflation is a fixed rate monthly payment on your housing.
And a lot of gold in your portfolio.
Yeah, that's
yes,
right.
but you're totally right.
Yeah,
You're totally right.
Yeah. But my point being is, if the inflation goes up, you can, even without gold, you can kind of hunker down,
Sure.
right? And because you know what your monthly payment is, outside of taxes and insurance, which you and Keith have adeptly talked about on Tuesday, that property taxes but the property tax, even if it goes up, it's not going to go up that much. It's not going to go up to a place that impacts you. So that's what I get concerned about, is that people really need to not be just thinking about today. They need to be thinking about, at some point, this baby is going to come back to roost, and you better be in a position to be able to withstand it.
Yeah, I agree. Dirk, anything we're missing from your end that we'd like to get out to the viewing public?
Oh, I'd love to take a second to plug our Blue Ridge Home Builders organization, if I can. I mentioned earlier that I'm the chair of the membership committee, and we're always looking for new members. So if anybody out there listening is thinking about joining us and feel like they could benefit from being a part of our organization, please do reach out.
Hey, Dirk,
and also I wanted to mention that we have some fun programs coming up. We're doing a clay shoot September 17th.
Nice.
So if anybody wants to join in on that, I know everybody's kind of a little bit bored, a little bit ready to see their friends. So if you want to come out and have some fun with us, please reach out to myself or Jenny Tapscott at the Blue Ridge Home Builders Association. We'll get you hooked up with the team.
And Dirk, let me help you a little bit farther with the membership thing. Talk about the fact that even though it's Blue Ridge Home Builders Association, talk about all the different types of people that are part of that association. The tradespeople, the building supply people, lenders. Talk a little bit about that, because
Absolutely.
Don't think that you can't join if you're not a builder.
Of builder members, but in addition to that, there are numerous different types of associate members, basically ranging the entire building industry here locally. So if you feel like you're wanting to be a bigger part of the industry and get out there and meet some other key players in the industry, I think our association is a great spot for you.
Awesome.
Yeah, it is amazing when you think about the circle of people around. It goes back to what we've talked about before, Jerry, about how the buying of a home or selling of a home, the ripple effect of the economy,
everybody.
right?
Yeah.
So you got insurance agents, you got lenders, you got the building supply people, you got tradespeople, landscapers,
tree guy,
all those people.
painters.
If they're not a member, they need to be. And then Dirk, the other thing I want to piggyback on, which I'm really glad Jerry asked the question. I just again want to applaud you guys and the Charlottesville Area Association of Realtors for. We already talked about the RPAC and the really defending property rights, but the way that both organizations give back to the community. I mean, what's happened over this last month with Blue Ridge Home Builders Association and with CAR in regards to the Blue Ridge Blue Ridge Area Food Bank, and also AHIP. You guys do a lot of stuff with AHIP as far as donating materials, donating labor, allowing that work to get done at a much lower cost, but also then helping raise money to help pay for because there is cost. And I can't talk to leaders of Blue Ridge Home Builders Association or leaders of CAR without always talking about how great it was that you guys stepped up, those organizations stepped up with the AHIP sponsorship several years ago, and I think it really put AHIP on the map. I'll go out on a ledge and say that. I think that they got such a amazing wind beneath their wings with that it has really expanded. And what Beck Cohen does with them in regards to the HVAC systems, and we could go on, but thank you for what you guys do in keeping that going with those, at least those two, and I know a lot of other nonprofits as well.
Yeah, well, thank you. We're very happy to support our local charities like AHIP. AHIP's a wonderful organization. I've been fortunate enough to spend a few Saturdays with AHIP, and always feel better about myself after doing so. And also very, very happy about the cooperation between BRHPA and CAR. That it's good to have a good partner in CAR, and I feel like we're able to do a lot together. So thank you too.
Thanks for coming on the show, Dirk.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me. I really have enjoyed it and looking forward to it all week. So.
Well, Dirk, thank you for doing this. I told you we'd keep you 15, 20 minutes.
Yeah,
we kept you 35, but I think it was really helpful and very informative to the folks that watch this show every Tuesday and Friday. So thank you.
Thank you, Dirk. We appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you.
Good guy right there, Michael Guthrie. Good guy to bring on the show. Thank you kindly for joining us. Throw some recaps from the show, Michael. What stood out to you from the interview?
Well, I think one thing. It hopefully you see that the leadership at the Blue Ridge Homebuilder Association is very strong, and Dirk comes from good stock and is a great guy, and along with Jody Mills, who's the president now, and Christopher Vermont, who's been on this show as the past president. It's just a great organization, and who want to do things the right way. Yeah, they want to make a profit and do a good job, but they want to do a good job. They want people to be happy with what they do. I think that what Dirk shared with us, especially I think the thing that I didn't think about, and I'm glad he went into it, and you brought it up as well, is the remodeling, the renovation side of the business, and how that is continuing to be very, very active. And if you're thinking about wanting to do, the smallest types of renovations, folks, you got to understand that you got to get on somebody's calendar. Don't think that, okay, well, we'll do this in September, and you call somebody today. It may not be this September. It may be a September, but it may not be this one. And so you got to be, really, really careful. And there are a lot of really good remodelers and renovators in our marketplace. John Kerber, who's, obviously.
This business is booming.
Booming. Client of yours, good friend of mine, great guy. I mean, why wouldn't you want to work with somebody like John Kerber?
Yeah, I see him all over our neighborhood.
Yeah, and so that's an interesting piece that I think we have to continue to watch in regards to talking about and answering the question in regards to lack of inventory.
Yeah, and okay, so Christopher Brement's watching. Bramante Homes. Christopher Brement's come on this program multiple times. He makes this point, and I agree 1,000% with this comment. And Christopher says, I had a conversation last night about millennials creating new households. We coined that it's not that they're home more, it's that their mom and dad are home more. Meaning at their house, or, you see what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
So we experienced that with our in-laws at our new house. They were with us for 90 days as they chose to wait it out in Charlottesville before heading back to Long Island. She works in nursing. So I totally agree. And here's the only thing I see. You're the pro. I learned from you guys. The only thing I see is we need the consumer confidence to come back. I think it is. I'm just nervous that there is such little inventory that it's going to keep people that want to sell from putting their home on the market because they're saying, where am I going to then go next?
Yeah.
And I'm also watching closely that if we do get this influx of people from big cities coming here for the backyard, that's going to drive up price points. So what I'm seeing, maybe I'm wrong here and reading the tea leaves incorrectly. What I'm seeing is a pinch in inventory, a pinch in supply, and then I'm seeing folks from outside Charlottesville and Central Virginia moving here with some Yankee money, some big city money, driving up prices. So it seems to me that we're going to have a major affordability issue over the next 12 to 24 months?
Well, two things. One is, in all honesty, forget COVID-19, Charlottesville has always had an inflated real estate price since I've been here.
Sure.
Because
which is good. UVA.
Well, not just UVA, but because of the kind of community it is. But more importantly, it's because people who went to UVA want to come back here.
Right.
They go to New York, they make all their money, they come here, and they go, well, gosh, I sold this for this, I can buy this here.
Yeah.
But if you do, and it'd be kind of interesting for you and Keith to look at some point, but if you compare Charlottesville with Richmond, medium home sale price, Richmond is the capital of the state, of the Commonwealth, excuse me,
right.
of the Commonwealth. And yet you can buy a house there for probably 25% less.
Easily.
Than you can buy here.
Easily.
Right?
Yeah.
And so there's always been that sort of inflated, when I moved here in 2005, I sold in my house in Northern Virginia, and I thought, okay, I'll get kind of the same price house, but I'll have
surprised.
I only got about 25% delta. I thought I'd get like a 50% delta.
Right.
Because, so you're always going to have that, but your point being is a good one, that it could be more than that. The second thing, and I hadn't thought about this, and been interesting to ask Dirk about this, but going back to what you and Keith talked about on Tuesday in regards to, places to build, that may have a positive impact on the inventory because at some point, builders are selling out of closer in locations. Take a Cascadia as an example.
Oak Hill, the Whittingtons, Cascadias.
Yeah, Oak Hill.
Yeah,
I mean,
Oak Hill sold out like that.
Oh my gosh, I was in that neighborhood
Right.
the other day. I dropped some Bodo's bagels off for some friends as a surprise.
Yeah.
I hadn't been in there since it was finished.
It was like 90 homes sold out like that.
And it's a beautiful neighborhood.
Beautiful neighborhood.
Right?
Yeah.
But the point being is, there won't be any more dirt.
Right.
And so if people want to have what Dirk was saying about still having urban but being close,
Yeah.
people are going to have to sell their homes. People are going to have to sell their homes to, or those houses are going to go on the market because price is going up as a demand, and the people can't find the new homes. So, that could negatively impact things as far as the real estate market. If that happened and people didn't sell their homes, now you've got even more demand for buyers for those particular type of houses. And if people don't put their houses on the market, that could negatively impact the numbers.
It seems like, just Ken Elzinga, basic economics to me. We need more dirt to build more homes.
Yeah.
To make more people happy and to keep prices low.
Yep.
We just need some more dirt.
Yep.
I mean, is that?
No, and that's the great conversation to have with Neil Williamson from the Free Enterprise Forum.
Give us some more land to build on Albemarle County.
If you don't follow freeenterpriseforum.org, you should, because he's at every meeting, guys. I mean, if you want to know what's going on, he's at every meeting. He posts pictures of himself, standing room only, and he's the only one standing because there's nobody else in the room. But the point being is that's a more complex question about the dirt, because you didn't really get into it Tuesday, and didn't have time. But if you have more dirt and you build that in a dense situation, you then have more traffic, and you have more this, and you have more that.
You also have a larger tax base.
Well, but you lose the quality of what people like about Charlottesville. So that's the yin and the yang.
Right.
Right.
It's a balancing act.
That's the plus and the negative. So,
what do you see happening if we see the price points increase like we are? I mean, let's cut to the chase. If you're a homeowner now in the city of Charlottesville or in Albemarle County, you're holding a lot of cards. Is that safe to say?
If you've owned the home
And it's
for a while,
kept
yes.
well.
Yes. Yeah.
You have a lot of leverage here.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay.
For sure.
You know that the market doesn't have much inventory. You know that values are increasing. And you know that interest rates are low, so people are looking to buy. So you have a lot of cards here, a lot of leverage. I'm going to throw a crystal ball to you and learn from you here. So let's say that prices continue to increase like we're seeing, increasing at a rate potentially higher than Charlottesville's accustomed to because of the trend of big city coming to Charlottesville for more space, more home. And let's say that interest rates start upticking. What happens in that scenario? What do you see happen? Because that's the scenario I see. Housing prices are going to go up. Interest rates are going to uptick. How does the marketplace respond there?
Yeah, so I think, a couple things. One is I was surprised yesterday. I heard NAR saying that they expect interest rates to stay around 3% for another 18 months.
Okay. Do you believe that?
I don't. Although, who would have guessed they'd be where they are? I just think we get through the election year and things.
That's what I think.
If things continue to improve, then you're going to see a push. But that's for another conversation. If prices go up and interest rates go up a little bit, the buying power goes down. But there's so much demand for those houses, I don't think that's going to impact it. But what I was just thinking about when you were talking about it was, here is a leverage, because you were talking about leverage. This is just a practical tip. If you're thinking about selling your home, but you don't know exactly where you want to buy, because you hold so many cards right now.
The homeowner.
Yeah. Put your house on the market, but make it contingent
on you getting another contract.
No, making it contingent on you finding the home of your choice. So you've got the demand, you've got these multiple contracts, buyers.
Yeah.
They come, okay, make me the best offer. I want as much money as I can. But what I'm going to also ask is that you give me 3 weeks to go find, instead of a home inspection contingency for the buyer, now you're doing a home seller contingency by saying this contract is contingent on the seller finding a home of choice before September 15th, 2020.
That's similar to what I did.
But that's to me, that's something that's not being used very much right now, and it's what some people are holding off, saying, well, I don't want to put my house on the market because I don't know where I'm going to go. Well, you've got the cards. If you can have multiple, if your agent says we should have multiple contracts, then you can say, well, I want to write this in. This will be a term that somebody's going to have to agree to. And there's going to be somebody out there that's going to agree to it because, one, they're renting.
Well, and they want a house. They want to buy a house.
They could be renting, and so they don't have to, they can go to month or whatever. And two, they want that house in that neighborhood.
So you're a proponent of the domino deal.
Oh, I'm absolutely, if it's done right.
Okay.
Now, I'm not.
The domino deal is a tricky deal.
Well, what I'm not a proponent of is the early possession or the seller occupancy possession. That's where it gets really dicey. You just had this happen. Thankfully, we didn't have pre-occupancy, but you got all the ducks are in a row. Everything's moving to closing, and then all of a sudden the lender says, whoops, I forgot something.
Right.
Now you got those people in your house paying a per diem of some sort, and yet they just didn't get their loan.
Right.
Now you got to get them out of there, right? That's
sticky.
And then the seller occupancy side, is a little less, but you've got a situation now where you've done your walkthrough and everything, and the people accepted the property in its condition, and something happens after the sellers go out, and you better have that in writing as to how that's going to get resolved, because that can be a dicey scenario as well.
We're getting so the distinguished gentleman who's on a plane right now would like us to highlight. That's Keith Smith, guys. He would like us to highlight, Michael, the fabulous app that was released to track COVID. That's on the phone. Did you see that?
Yeah, I did.
Yeah, we'll make mention of that. There's an app that was released by the Commonwealth of Virginia that you can download to the phone. Judah's got it on screen. You're a good man, Judah. That helps us track and trace COVID. And for those, and I'm a libertarian as much as all those that are out there. For those that are concerned about losing privacy, the reality is, with this, there is no privacy. So if you're on Facebook, you have a smartphone, you're using social media of any capacity in your hand or your handheld device, the government's going to know where you're at. So let's download the app and let's fight COVID. Let's get this thing under control. I mean, everyone's in agreement here that's following the economy, and it's coming down to consumer confidence.
Yeah, absolutely. And I just listened this morning on NPR about Taiwan.
Yeah.
And the amazing success they had. They've only had 7 deaths total.
Right.
400 cases or something like that. And it's all because, and they don't even have, it's not even an app. They have something else. But basically, you agree that if you come into the country, that you're going to quarantine in a quarantine hotel for 14 days, and they're going to pay you $33 a day.
Okay, I was going to highlight that.
Yeah.
It's different than what we're doing.
That's right. But it's worked.
It's worked, yeah.
That's right.
Worked.
And they had, they've had no, it's extraordinary. And the guy that was talking about it, I call him Directory of Digital or something of Taiwan. He said, what we did is we didn't do anything that people weren't used to already doing. We didn't ask them to in their situation, they didn't have to do an app because they already had some other way of tracking people. And if you chose to say, I'm going to be quarantined in my house, then they I don't know how they did it, but they have something that they could tell that you were outside of 50 meters of the house. And if you did, then you lost the financial, wherewithal, and you could be fined for being out. Whereas in the hotel, you're in the hotel, they know where you are, and they reimburse you for doing it. And you know, that's way over here, right? I'm like with you. I get worried about, Dottie and I have these conversations all the time about, you know, the tracking measures and stuff. And yes,
it's because Dottie's not on social media.
No, but what I'm saying is, I'm just saying, everybody's okay about this now because it's blah blah blah. But how does that then,
long term?
Yeah.
Yeah.
When do we then decide?
I'm worried about that too.
Well, yeah. When do we decide to use it again?
Right. Exactly.
Right. And that's my concern.
Mike, you're basically saying it's a Pandora's box.
Yeah.
If we allow this, what else is going to follow? I have that concern. I also have that concern when it comes to what appears to be a deprioritization of actual hard currency. Are you seeing that?
Yeah.
Does that worry you?
I'm waiting for Kroger to tell me I can get 2 cents with every penny.
Yeah.
And then I'm going to take all my change in and put it into that machine. Kind of.
That's going to happen.
But here's the
Are
other.
you worried about that?
Well, here's the point I would make, though, going back to what you said about the fact that they know where I am anyway.
Yeah,
right?
they do.
A friend of mine would not get a Food Lion MVP card because she didn't want to be tracked, them to know what she had, because of course they do that, and then they send their advertising.
Coupons based on what her purchases are.
So fast forward, 10 years maybe? She said something to me the other day about some app she was using, and I said, now wait a minute.
Right.
What happened to that woman that said, the Food Line MVP, and I'm not going to give him my private information, but I can get such a good deal on his app. I said, exactly. They're enticing you to do it, and it's and from a real estate perspective, it's the same thing with IDX, the Information Data Exchange. When we made that decision that we were going to let the horse out of the barn, and allow our information to go to third party, all bets were off. And that's why you see Zillow and Realtor.com and all these different companies now making money on business that we generated.
Yeah.
The Realtors generated the business. Yeah. They put it in the MLS, and yet then the third parties go out there and make money on it. And so when you hear anybody complain about it, or like we're talking about now with this particular thing, you kind of go, hey, you're 10 years too late on that.
Right, right. Like the newspaper business giving away their news and now trying to monetize it with a paywall when they train people for 15 years to read the news for free online.
That's right.
Yeah, it's the same thing. You killed this. You make this easy. Michael Guthrie, guys, the CEO of Roy Wheeler Realty Company. Anything we missed? Final word?
I don't think so. I think we covered all the things, and along with some warm fuzzies, as I call them, in regards to the nonprofits and the importance of those things. And I thought Dirk did a great job, and obviously, like I said before, they're in great hands with Jody and Dirk and guys like Christopher Bramante. They're just phenomenal people.
You guys, thank you kindly for joining us today on Real Talk.
Don't forget the sponsors, man. You make sure
Scott Morris is phenomenal. We love Scott Morris as a lending option. Phenomenal mortgage lender. Derry Market and Chris Henry are phenomenal. We love those guys. How about Pearl Certification? A great way to add value to your home before listing it, or heck, even refinancing it, is to get your home Pearl certified, and then you can show the efficiency of your house to an appraiser or to a potential buyer. Of course, the fabulous Roy Wheeler Realty Company, a trusted advisor in the game. Bill Tucker at Charlottesville Settlement Company. MarieBette, Jason and Patrick on Water Street and Rose Hill Drive. And folks, the presenting sponsors, Interstate Pest and Service Companies, a home's best friend. Interstate Pest and Service Companies. You made this easy, dude. You are a strong, capable, and award-winning broadcaster. When Christopher, one of the best builders in the game, says, I watched it from start to finish. Great show, guys.
Yeah, thanks.
That goes a long way.
Yeah.
For us.
It's funny when you're doing the sponsors, I just thought about this. You could scroll across this thing, and it's a one-stop shop.
It's full service.
So you get a good realtor.
Yeah.
You get pre-qualified by a good lender.
Yeah.
Right? You write the contract. You have a company like Charlottesville Settlement.
Yeah.
Doing the paperwork on that.
It's the full supply chain.
You got some issues with termites or things like that. You got Interstate.
Or the new inspections that you had to do. Was it with the septic tanks?
That's exactly right.
They're rolling that out.
That's exactly right. And then you got the Dairy Market and MarieBette to go.
I want to see how you're going to tie those in.
They're coming into you going there to celebrate
Okay.
after you buy the house, or the realtor bringing a little housewarming gift. You got our buddy brick oven.
Yeah. Dino. Yeah.
Great guy.
Yeah.
So you go in, you get some pizzas, take them over to the people, so you got the whole food chain right here across the bottom of the screen.
I knew how he was going to do Charlottesville Settlement Company, Roy Wheeler, Pearl Certification, and Scott Morris.
And don't forget the insurance.
And the insurance.
Hazard insurance. That's right. We got that.
The true talent of Michael Guthrie is weaving in the MarieBette and the Dairy Market into the real estate supply chain. And he just did it very proficiently. I'm very impressed right there. You make this easy. It's great to see you.
It's a pleasure. Yeah. Really enjoyed it.
Same. Judah Wickhauer, thank you.
Thank you,
Dirk,
thank you,
for
man.
joining us. We will be back Tuesday with the distinguished gentleman Keith Smith at 10:15 a.m. on Real Talk on the I Love CVille
And you're going to do that live from Seattle, right?
He's going to do it live from Seattle.
That's right.
I mean, it's Keith Smith, 60 years old, doing a show live.
And you're doing Sleepless in Seattle because it'll be 7 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah.
So,
it's like you've got mail.
Yeah.
Jerry's ready to go.
That's right. That's right.
Thank you guys for joining us. You guys have a good morning. Take care.
Yeah. Thank you.
Judah, good job. Michael, you make it easy.
Judy, you're looking so sharp, man. A nice svelte haircut and trimmed beard, and man. No, I enjoyed it.